bringing you a live stream, just opportunity for everyone to join in the chat. I know we've been missing it from Nick's live streams. I have suggested to Nick actually that all the downtown lectures that he's uploading, perhaps he can upload them as live premieres, and we can all get in the chat and razz him. I think that'd be fun. I don't know if he thought of it or whether he got he was a little bit shy after having a few technical problems. Also a time to connect with my North American fans, let you know what I've been doing. I haven't been posting a lot on YouTube. I've been doing a lot of recording, but have been a little bit camera shy. So yeah, I've got your little messages, Nancy. So Nancy was wondering what I had for Christmas lunch. It was a lovely Christmas lunch. I got together with my husband and his mum, my dad and my brother, and we went to the Sofitel, which is a hotel that do a lovely seafood buffet, although it wasn't, it was a served buffet in that you didn't get your own food. You went up to the counter and serving staff gave you what you wanted, although you could go back as many times and fill your plate full of prawns and stuff. So I had, so there were king prawns. I know you call them shrimp, but our prawns are huge. I remember a prawn that was like this fat. Oh man, the prawns here are beautiful. You peel them and then you put them in some cocktail sauce, and oh yummy. And oysters and mussels and smoked salmon. There was a roast meal if you wanted it, and the desserts. Oh, these little sort of cupcake desserts, but full of the richest stuff you ever had. And some of the seafood, we have a thing called a Moreton Bay bug, which is regional to Queensland and Moreton Bay, which is the bay sort of outside Brisbane where I live. I'm here with my cafe latte. Yeah, so it's, I suppose it's like a mini lobster, but we cut them in half and then you just dig them out and stick them in some cocktail sauce. And, oh, just beautiful. They're quite expensive, but they're nice. But please do comment if you're in the live chat. It's lunchtime here at the cricket, that's why I'm presenting this live stream. Just a chance to connect with people in North America, because I did do a live stream, I think, Christmas night, and that was more for my European fans, but not such a good time period for my North American fans. I thought this would be a slightly better time, plus it's lunchtime at the cricket, so there's no play happening. It's quite an interesting. It's an interesting game. Yeah. So what have I been doing this year? You'll see that my last video is 16 parts. I found this motet. A motet is a religious piece by not Giovanni Gabrieli, but his cousin, the lesser known cousin. And boy, did that take a while. It's only like a 2.5 minute piece. But yeah, it took me hours to record, and that's just the audio. And then I had to record the video. And then I had to get the video so that, it all synced up, and I got all 16 parts of me in there, and it takes hours. And then you have to render it, and uploading took like minutes. But yeah, I've been really into Renaissance, sort of unaccompanied stuff that for choirs that can be translated onto the recorder quite successfully. Yeah, up to 16 parts, which is fun, but more sort of 8 to 12, which is quite fun. Also, I'm tearing through the madrigals. A madrigal is a secular work, meaning not for church, of a guy called Gesualdo. And Gesualdo was an interesting person. He was a nobleman, and his first marriage ended when he caught his wife and her lover in bed and murdered them both on the spot, and got away with it because he was a nobleman, and cheated on his second wife and ended up alone, died alone. Interesting guy. His madrigals are interesting. The harmonies are very interesting. So yeah, I've been into that sort of stuff, and I've started another master's, although this is more research based because I want to get into research. I'm probably going to step away from live performance. Live performance is really stressful, especially having to sort of be with people, weeks of rehearsals, and the nerves of live performance. So yeah, and I prefer recording, and I prefer sort of stepping back and being virtual, because recording allows you, if you stuff up, well, you can just redo it. So although my sight reading skills are really good, so means I don't often have to stuff up and redo it. I just pick a piece off the internet, and yeah, and so this year is a year I've become very interested in geology, because of a live streamer called Nick Zentner, who felt the need to live stream geology lectures from his backyard, and I found it so entertaining, and I've loved the feeling of the community that is built. So I've become really into geology. So I've gotten myself, here's a really good rocks and landscapes of Brisbane and Ipswich. This picture actually is taken of the Kangaroo Point cliffs, and you can see that there's a lot of water. This picture was taken during the 2011 floods. But it turns out that Brisbane has a pretty interesting geologic history. So here's a map of Brisbane. So I live here on the Enoggera granite, but I mean, there's some really interesting geologic features just in Brisbane. So so you've got, I live on an intrusion, but you have basalt lavas, trachyte plugs, like tertiary basins, meta-sediments, volcanics. And there's a really interesting feature. I'll see if I can find, and also the buildings are made out of the rocks. Like this here is a welded tuff, Edinburgh. This is St John's Cathedral. And so I'm going to see if I can find, this is actually the history of the Brisbane River. And you can see that it's like there's a little bit of a delta, and the river used to sort of end around about Hamilton when the sea level was higher, and at times it even went around Norton Island. But I'm going to go through because I think the geology just of Brisbane is interesting. So actually, Brisbane used to be here, way out. I think that's Brisbane there. Way out in the deep ocean, and the subduction zone was here, and then around about Toowoomba you had the continental shelf, and then inland at Dalby was where the coastline was, and that's where the volcanic arc was, and this was 370 million years ago. So it had four main episodes. You had a period of accumulation of thick layers of sediments in a deep ocean trench, and that was 370 to 315 million years ago. And because of the hey Eric. Because of the subduction zone, you know, you had all the sediments getting crushed and crumpling, and there's uplift, much like what's happened in Washington. Actually, it's funny. I was looking in one of my other books. I bought about 4 or 5 of these rocks and landscapes books. I bought 4 or 5 of these, and you can even get serpentinite here in southeast Queensland. I mean, there's basalt lavas, there's shield volcanoes, there's rhyolite lavas, there's ignimbrite, which is the welded tuff. Then the subduction stopped. The trench was jumped and was way out to sea, so that you had a relaxation of the crust, and so you had volcanoes and intrusions of molten granites, and the continental edge stabilised between 235 and 215 million years ago. And then there was an accumulation of sediments, like coal. We have coal here, just in southeast Queensland. Out by Ipswich, there are a lot of swamps out there, and so a lot of coal. We actually have a granite belt as well, and that's out at Stanthorpe, where they grow all the apples, and that's actually from 235 to 250 million years ago. I've been trying to work out when the granite belt was formed, and it turns out it was then. And then between 65 and 23 million years ago, you had the accumulation of soft sediments and eruption of basalt lavas, and this is from the hotspot. And there were just long periods of erosion, so you don't see a lot of this, but yeah. So that's the basic story of Brisbane in a nutshell. But yeah, so you had this. So this was out past Dalby, you know, and Brisbane was here. This was round Toowoomba, and this was 370 million years ago, and you had, you know, your submarine fans and all that sort of stuff. And then you had compression. Yeah, so this would have been Brisbane. Here we have a couple of different rock beds. We have the Naranli Fernvale beds and the Bunyafillite. I live on the Bunyafillite, which is the western suburbs. I'm in the western suburbs. And you have your Naranli Fernvale beds. If you go a little bit further north into Petrie, you get your Roxburgh greenstone. So greenstone is metamorphosed basalt, and you also get the Kawongba beds. So they're rocks from deeper in the subduction complex. And also you get some tuffs in the greenstones as well, because at one stage I think there was actually westward subduction, not eastward subduction, and there were volcanic island arcs off the continent. So yeah, so if you're interested in what are in the different beds, the Naranli Fernvale beds, so it's interesting, there's actually a thrust fault out at Normanby, close to the city, and so you have the Naranli Fernvale beds in the eastern suburb. Then you have a block running along the Normanby thrust fault of the Bunyafillite, and then you have the Naranli Fernvale beds again, and then you get into your volcanics. So the Naranli Fernvale beds are argillite, grey-wacky, quartzite, jasper and greenstone. So, and the Bunyafillite is just phyllite, and it's banded with layers of mica and quartz. And what's interesting is you can the rocks are folded and very steeply inclined. So yeah, the Roxburgh greenstone is greenstone, so metamorphosed basalt lavas, tuffs and agglomerates. I like to get a look at those sometimes. So yeah, then you had Party Central. So the Kangaroo Point cliffs, actually, what happened was there was this massive volcanic eruption, and you had a pyroclastic flow which flowed down the river valleys, and it welded to form ignimbrite. And you had your intrusions, and this is the Enogra granite which my house sits on, but some did get to the surface, and if I keep going up Waterworks Road, going into Mount Nebo, and you get to Jolly's Lookout, that's an andesite volcano. And they say that their research says that that's actually connected to another intrusion slightly north of me, which is the Stanford granodiorite, which eroded because it wasn't quite as hardy as the Narrandley Fernvale beds, and has produced the beautiful Stanford Valley. And anyway, the Jolly's Lookout andesite is related to the Stanford granodiorite. It's that it got to the surface. But all this is so old, it's all eroded away. It's, nothing much has happened over the last sort of 10,000 years, even the last 20 million years around here, which is, so the Stanford granodiorite is underneath the Jolly's Lookout. So you had violent eruptions of rhyolite and andesite. And if I can find, I want to find the bit about the Kangaroo Point cliffs. Brisbane Tuff, here it was. So this is what happened. You get a massive volcanic eruption, pyroclastic flow down a river valley. And I've got to read this to you. The latter part of the Triassic period was a dangerous place for the early dinosaurs living in Brisbane. So this is 230 to 210 million years ago. As several volcanics were then active around southeast Queensland. I love that, a dangerous place for the early dinosaurs. It's so nice that they were thinking of the dinosaurs. This episode brought to you by my cafe. I'm having an iced latte, very nice. So these were highly explosive as they erupted gas-rich, sticky lava of rhyolite composition. Actual lava flows were rare, but instead large volumes of rock were blasted out of vents in huge clouds of gas and fragments. So such clouds consisted of a dense mass of semi-liquid pumice and dust close to their melting point, so we're talking 1,000 degrees Celsius here, with hot gas between acting as a lubricant. The clouds kept close to the ground and reached very high speeds, over 200 kilometres an hour, so we're talking Grand Prix speeds here, and still may be tens of metres thick, truly awesome events. Some of these ash flows travel over 100 kilometres, but when they come to rest, the material may still be so hot that its own weight compacts and welds it to a very hard, tough rock called welded tuff, or ignimbrite, which is Latin for fiery shower. So evidence for this compaction is demonstrated by flattened and streaky bits of pumice, which before flattening used to be rounded and angular. Ash flows are quite different from the more common airfall tuffs, which result from ejection high into the air, followed by deposition in layers or beds over wide areas. So the rock unit known as the Brisbane Tuff, or Tuff as we pronounce it here in Australia, is the result of one, or at the most a few, explosive eruptions. So this, an age is of 226 million years has been obtained. So you can see these in the cliffs at New Farm and Kangaroo Point. And it would have accumulated in a few days or less. And the thickness of the deposit recorded when they were drilling the Clem 7 tunnel was at least 50 metres below Kangaroo Point and more than 80 metres beneath Tweed Valley. And what was funny was when they were building the road tunnel for the Clem 7, because Campbell Newman saw the Sydney example, and they were just drilling through Sandstone, which is below Sydney. Here, you know, they're trying to drill through this welded tuff, and the double time I had to build special, you know, sort of borers to sort of bore through this ignimbrite. But when they were drilling for the airport link tunnel, it's reported that there were 4 separate ash flow deposits with differently coloured ignimbrites, and you'll see this. So this is where the Brisbane Tuff is, and you can see it came from the north, travelled down River Valley, and you can see here a massive. This is Kangaroo Point, where the Brisbane River takes this massive curve, and that's where the you know, because it had to go round the tuff, didn't it? So yeah, and it. So this is through the city, and so have they got the airport link here? Yeah, so this is just sort of in the inner city. This is and you can see how localised it is, that it would have gone through an old river valley. But this is the Kangaroo Point cliffs. Remember, well, actually, these were carved out by the convicts. Originally, the cliffs went all the way to the river in a gentle hill, but they discovered that it made excellent building material, so the convicts quarried it. But it goes, so these are about 30 or 40 metres high, and the tuff goes another 50 metres below this, and another 80 metres further north in Kangaroo Point. So I'll actually show you. This is the Stanford Valley I was talking about. It's beautiful. I live just south of it. It's a beautiful drive, especially if you go up to Mount Glorious. Mount Glorious is actually an old basalt flow from the hotspot story 27 million years ago, and there's beautiful red soils there. Yeah, so I want to show you. Oh, this is the course of the river. As you can see, the river used to actually. So this is the river now, but you can see sort of other courses of the river, because Moreton Bay is actually just a drowned river valley. It's not very deep, so at times during ice ages, the river used to just flow over the bay. The bay was just dry, and so yeah, it used to possibly flow up past Moreton Island. So with all the intrusions that were happening on, you get hornfells, which is bedrock, which has been cooked by close contact with the hot magma of the intrusions, and they quarry it at Mount Cootha. But yeah, so we also have sandstones round here, and you can see this is sandstone from Goodna. But there's a very beautiful, there's a very beautiful sandstone called Halidon Sandstone, which is out near Toowoomba. Although Toowoomba is actually, as a result, is a flood basalt. You know, it's like, who needs to be in Washington to have interesting geology? No, I can't see any Halidon Sandstone, but you can see this is in the executive building, and this is different. This is different granites used in that building. This is a Sabella granite from Mount Isa, which is in the Queen Street Mall. Yeah, so I could go on for ages about. Oh, here is the yeah. So the Clem 7, as you can see, this blue stuff is welded tough, and having to go through that was an absolute nightmare when they were building the. Yeah, so this is the Moranley Fernvale beds, and you can see how deeply inclined it's like on this sort of angle. You know, it's not like this anymore, it's like this, and that's because of the compression of the subduction zone. Yeah, so I find, I'm finding, and this is contorted quartzite. So there's a lot of, like Brisbane's very hilly, and a lot of the ridges are actually, because there's been so much erosion, that the only stuff left is the stuff that hasn't eroded. So a lot of the ridges, especially around sort of Ashgrove and that, are quartzite, because that's the only stuff that hasn't eroded. So Brisbane is very, very, very hilly. The Gap's very hilly. It's a nightmare if you're a cyclist, especially because we've got the intrusion here at the Gap, the granite intrusion. You go up Gapera and you see cyclists trying to struggle up that hill, and you poor bastards. Actually, the main mountain here in Brisbane, Mount Cootha, is part of that Inogra granite intrusion, and it's just the only rock that hasn't eroded. Actually, you can imagine how high the rock would have been. The bedrock would have been here in Brisbane, if you think that, you know, with Mount Cootha, there was another 3 kilometres of bedrock on top of that. So it's quite amazing. Mount Cootha is just lovely. So here's an example of the Brisbane Tuff on top of the Moranley Fernvale beds, and actually you can see the odd carbonised tree. And there's a number of quarries that quarried the Brisbane Tuff. So you had the Kangaroo Point Cliffs, but there's also a quarry at Windsor, and there's some fresh welded tuff from Windsor. But yeah, I'm flipping all over the place here. Typical. But then you've got weathered basalt here at Redcliffe. So all these different rocks, just in Brisbane. You know, who needs to go to Washington yeah, who needs to go to Washington to have interesting geology? So so this is Mount Cootha. So this is the drive around Mount Cootha. This is the Inogra granite where I live. And then there's the Hornfells, which are the contact between the Bunyafillite and the Inogra granite. You can see where they mine the quarry, the Hornfells. And it's the only bit that hasn't eroded. And this is, so slightly to the north of me is the Samford granodiorite, and then slightly to the north of that is the Mount Samson. It came to the surface, but underneath that you've got all your Samford granodiorite. So that was all part of the same system. And then you've got, but then you've got as part of the hotspot story your tertiary basalts, which is like Mount Glorious, and it weathers to beautiful red soils. I went there on another one of my videos. And this is Ipswich. This is getting out into the trench, where the trench would have been. So the brown stuff is sediments and basalts. You've got red bank plains. You can imagine what red bank plains are, very red soils. You've got interesting soils in Brisbane. Here in the Bunyafillite, the soils are terrible. You know, not good gardening soils. But if you go to Mount Glorious, red soils. You go to the Redlands, like Cleveland and that. Beautiful, beautiful basaltic red soils. They grow the strawberries there, and there's a winery out there. And we also have lovely islands in the bay as well, and there's basaltic red soils there. So we had a couple of periods of volcanic activity here in southeast Queensland. So you had the volcanic activity relating to the relaxing of the crust after the subduction story finished, but they were andesite and your granitic intrusions, and of course your tuff. And then when the hotspot story came through between 20 and 30 million years ago, you've got basalt. And what's interesting is that originally when they were researching the Kangaroo Point Cliff tuff, they thought it went all the way down to the Gold Coast. They thought it went down that far, and it didn't go down that far. It turns out that that's the Chillingham volcanics. But what I find interesting with the Chillingham volcanics are very similar tuffs to the Brisbane tuff, but we're talking about 100 kilometres difference. So with the Chillingham volcanics, you actually have intruded into the Chillingham volcanics, the new volcanics, which are part of the hotspot story. So that's Brisbane, but what we have in the Gold Coast hinterland is one of the largest erosion cold areas. Oh, I've got to show you these beautiful, beautiful sandstones with iron oxides, which have been deposited in the sandstones with this beautiful swirling. Isn't that just gorgeous? And this is part of the Halidon Sandstone as well. And the Halidon Sandstone they use at City Hall, Anzac Square, a lot of buildings built of it. Beautiful, beautiful swirls in the sandstone. And that's caused from the hotspot story, actually, because the sandstones were deposited 200 million years ago. Oh, hey, Garrett. Oh, yeah, I didn't see you there. The chat's not popping up. Dutch Night Owl is here. Well done. Yeah, so what happened is the sandstones were laid down 200 million years ago, and this is out on out near Toowoomba, and a huge fissure opened up in at Toowoomba and spewed out flood basalt. But connected to that system was all this hot mineral-laden water, and that infused itself and swirled around in the sandstone, and that's why you get these beautiful, beautiful swirls in the sandstone. Yeah, it's just amazing. But the Gold Coast is made out of two parts. You've got, I mean, everybody knows surfers' paradise. You know, I mean, the Gold Coast is basically the California of Australia. But I don't like it. It's really trashy. It's full of casinos, and all the tourists go there, and the schoolies go there after high school's finished and trash the place. But then you've got the hinterland. And that's where the interesting stuff is. So what is now Mount Warning is used to be this huge shield volcano. So with the hotspot story, sort of 23 million years ago, it was bimodal, meaning that mainly it was basalt spewing from cracks and huge shield volcanoes. So Mount Warning used to be this huge shield volcano, 2 kilometres high. So if you can imagine Hawaii, but on land. It was massive. And the fact that it's still there after 20 million years of erosion, I mean, you can see it from space. It was so big, you know. See if I can find you a picture of Mount Warning. There's also pillow lavas. I've got to find those. These books are just so. So this is what I was talking about with the volcanics. Is you've got your Chillingham volcanics. So they're 220 million years old. But then you've got your basalt lavas, and those are 20 million years old. So I find that just I find that just fascinating. So yeah, Tambourine Mountain was just one of the vents. Tambourine Mountain is beautiful. It really is. I used to go there every year for a church camp, and beautiful basalt, weathered soils, and and you've got your caves where you can go glowworming, and so it's. Let me see if I can get you a picture of Mount Warning, because it's huge. So this is the remains of Mount Warning as seen from space. So that would have been the plug. That would have been the centre of the volcano. Look how huge that is. And you got Mount Tambourine here, which would have been one of the vents. I mean, you can see this from space. That's how big this volcano would have been. I'll see if I can get. So this is what's happened to it. Originally, you know, this huge shield volcano gets eroded a heap more. And that's sort of, you can still see part of it now. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful scenery. And this is actually the hotspot track going through. So it started in central Queensland, and you can see it's tracked down to Victoria. And the reason it's kind of sort of curvy like that is actually because Australia is rotating anti-clockwise in the last, several 100 million years, because Australia, the east coast of Australia, when South Australia was connected to Antarctica, the east coast of Australia actually was facing south, and it has rotated 90 degrees so that it is now east and continuing to rotate. So the hotspot is now here, but you can see how it's tracked through Australia like that. Although I did see research saying that it wasn't a hotspot, that it was something else. Here is another picture of the Tweed Volcano. There's Mount Barney as well, but this is how massive the Tweed Volcano was. Just incredible. And you've got, there's some different basalt flows. But so just amazing. So this is part of the Chilean volcanics. So this is from the relaxation of the crust story 220 million years ago. And there's a volcanic mud flow as well. So these are fantastic books if you want to learn about... Oh, and then there's the Numinbah Valley. Oh, wow. And that story is from 220 million years ago. I mean, the Numinbah Valley has obviously been eroded. But looking towards Binnaburra is just gorgeous. And then you get upper cliffs of rhyolite. I mean, these are just this is absolutely a fantastic landscape. These are cliffs of rhyolite as well. And so here's your you've got your Chillingham volcanics and your rhyolites, and you can see how the valley has formed. So we've got some fantastic series, some fantastic scenery here in Queensland, and I don't see enough of it. This is a close-up of the tuffs and lavas at Binnaburra. And flow-banded rhyolite. So, yeah, and that's just the Gold Coast. Then you've got Sunshine Coast. Look at that. That's part of the Glasshouse Mountains. This is from the hotspot story, and when I say that our hotspot is bimodal, they're rhyolitic and trachyte plugs. They're not basalt lavas. although the Mullaney volcano, which is near there, was basalt. But you can see all the different, plugs. I always thought they were volcanic plugs. They're not. They were just under the ground. And they have great names, actually, the old Aboriginal names. So that you got Mount Chibragargan, Mount Beerburrum, Mount Nungan, Mount Coonawan, Mount Tunbubla, and Mount Beerwa. So just fantastic. You can see this book's well loved already. But the Sunshine Coast is also like the Gold Coast, and then you've got your fantastic beaches, and you've got your hinterland as well. And the hinterland is where Australia Zoo is, where Steve Irwin used to hang out. And he's actually got his own highway named after him, Steve Irwin Way. So, yeah, I've been up near Mullaney, and that was an old volcano. So, this is Gympie. This is a bit further north. So you can see all your different rocks there. Yeah, these are great books. So so this is how Australia used to be connected to Antarctica. And you can see Australia faced south, and actually Western Australia was connected to India. Yeah, so hope you guys are enjoying this. No, I am. No, we haven't got many people watching, but so there's more sandstone up near Nambour. Nambour is north of Brisbane. It's where they grow all the sugar cane. But underneath the sandstone is the granite. So this is what happened. So there's a lot of basalt, which is related to the hot spot story. And there's a few plateaus as well. So the Mullaney volcano was here. So you've got a few plateaus. But I mean, everything's so eroded. And actually, yeah. So. Oh, you got to look at this. This is Kalula. Oh, pretty. Oh, this is Mullaney. So this is what the Sunshine Coast hinterland looks like. I was actually married in the Sunshine Coast hinterland on Mount Mee, which I think is an old part of the old plateau and volcano. So so this is a geologic map of the Sunshine Coast. Gosh, this book's loved. And you can find greenstones. Must look out for that. Greenstones and argillites and yeah. I've just got to find. I want to find pictures of the Glasshouse Mountains, but I might need to. This is Mooloolah Beach and Noosa. So this is where the beach is. Then you have some intrusions as well. So that's another geologic map of Coolum, which is a very nice beach. They don't have as much surf as the Gold Coast, but you can yeah. Oh, yeah. So anyway, I might the cricket is back on. So I might leave it there because watching the cricket and my and enjoying my cafe latte, iced latte. Love cricket. It goes for 5 days. This is day 2. Oh, he was almost out. How was he not out? Oh, you got to see these organ pipes on Mount Beerwah. These are rhyolite. This isn't basalt. This is rhyolite. And we call them organ pipes. We don't call them basalt columns or whatever. We call them organ pipes. And these ones are horizontal. So this is another geologic map. Let's see if I can find. This is another great book, and you can see it's well loved. Rocks and Landscapes of the National Parks of Southern Queensland. Let's see if I can find the Glasshouse Mountains in here. So this is a main range volcano from 24 million years ago. Look how deeply weathered that is. It's amazing that the volcano is still around, because I know that they erode pretty quickly in North America. Let's see if I can find the Glasshouse Mountains. Glasshouse Mountains, here we are, 134. So this is Mount Beerwah, and you can see the rhyolitic organ pipes, the columns. And that's your geologic map of where all the intrusions were. And the blue is actually the North Arm volcanics, and that's not from the hotspot story, that's from 220 million years ago. But I did a video. So there's some more cooling columns. This is Mount Beerwah. But yeah, so plenty of things to see here just in southeast Queensland. I hope you enjoyed what I've had to say. Thank you for those that have chimed in. So there was, I know Nancy's been in here, and Eric and Garrett, so thank you for tuning in. Please feel free to chime in again, and yeah. All right. Video's been going for more than an hour, so I'm naked. Thanks, Garrett. You gonna go back to sleep now? I think it's. I've been missing getting together with my Zet Nerd friends in the chat. I've actually suggested to Nick that when he posts the downtown lectures he's been posting, that he posts them as premieres so that we can get together in a live chat and chit chat. And I'm hoping he's got big things planned for next year. So thanks for tuning in. Bye for now.